It is MLB First Pitch for Wednesday, July the 24th, and we are live as we are every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific here on WagerTalk TV. And, of course, you can watch this on the replay 24/7 afterwards on YouTube TV here on WagerTalk, but we're also live on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Live, TikTok, Twitter X, and ask your questions because Dan the Man Alexander, the Phillies fan, is in the studio getting those questions and sending them my way. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for Dan this week. Here's the guest host. And I'm joined by Bryan Power and Mark Zinno, both from WagerTalk.com. And we're going to cover some big game breakdowns from each capper, but more importantly, we're going to get to numerous other games. So if you want to ask a specific game, start throwing them in the live chat here. We will get to them in a couple moments. Player props, anything else you want to ask. But Mark, I got to start with you because I feel the biggest series this week is the Subway Series, and you're going to break that down for your big game breakdown. Mets, Yankees, part due tonight on Wednesday. What are you doing with that?
Yeah, what I should have done last night with it, because I got scared off because of the number in the first five. Look, the Yankees can't hit lefties, guys. It's just a well-known fact at this point in time. The Mets actually lined up the starters in this series to put two lefties back-to-back last night in Quintana and today in the human Cabbage Patch doll that looks like a girl in Sean Manea. Both of these lefties have had great success against the Yankees. The last time Manea faced the Yankees, he went 5 innings, gave up 2 hits and no runs. Garrett Cole's on the other side for the Yankees. I feel pretty confident that Cole, as much as he hasn't looked all that dominant, his last 2 starts really started to turn the corner a little bit. Now he's going deeper in games, so he's starting to get back to form here. We have our second start post All-Star break for Cole, so last 2 outings, 6 innings, just 1 run. I think he keeps the Mets at bay. I think Manea knows the Yankees can't hit. If you just keep walking Judge and pitch around Soto, guess what? The other 7 humps in the lineup won't get a hit because they're all batting 230 or less. So, i.e., when you bat J.D. Davis leadoff and Jones clean up or vice versa, whatever bunch of clowns they're trouting out there right now, the Yankees lineup sucks other than Soto and Judge. So we'll go first 5 under here. This is a client play, Steve. I put it up on the site as a free play as well. It's all right there for you, under 4.5 in the first 5.
Yeah, and of course, the Mets got him 3-2 yesterday, and Mark Zinno follows the Yankees as close as anybody, and he has a feel for this series, and he has a free best bet, which he just gave you right here on the show. And, of course, don't forget about those free plays. A lot of times they are client best bets, like Mark said, on our pages for free at WagerTalk.com. And speaking of Cabbage Patch Kids and Cabbage Patch dolls, let's go to Bryan Power next.
No! Oh, no. I've lost Steve. I've lost everybody in 2 years. They're all jumping on me now.
That was well done, Steve.
The hair. Brian, you got to admit that. And look, I could grow it out too. Brian knows I have that same hair, so we both have it. I'm just hiding it a little bit better today on Wednesday. Brian's embracing it. True story, guys. When I was like 8 years old, one of the local AM stations was giving them away like in 1984 when they were the hottest item on earth. And it was like the 5th caller, and I was doing it day after day. And I didn't want the damn doll. I was just, as a collector, I just wanted the $150 value. And I kept getting busy signal. And then one time it actually rang, and I accidentally hung up out of habit and missed my So I think of that every time I hear Cabbage Patch doll. So thank you, Mark Zinno, for bringing back that childhood trauma from 40 years ago. But all seriousness, we're going to look at a little bit of a later game with Bryan Power. And BP, of course, is at WagerTalk.com as well. And you're looking at Angels, Mariners. The Mariners, we talked about them a little bit on the show yesterday, Brian, with the other guests, kind of hanging on there in the AL West. The Astros finally caught up to them. Run differential is much better for Houston this year. Angels have not been a tough team this season. But your take on the Mariners, not only tonight, but kind of big picture going forward as well.
Yeah, hanging on is one way to put it, Steve. I think another way. In honor of Joe Ranieri, I'll be pretty forthright in saying the Mariners' offense is complete ass right now. All 3 of their hits last night in a 5-1 loss came from guys who were playing for AAA Tacoma last week. You go back before the All-Star break, they've lost 7 of 8 and scored 2 runs or less 6 times. And 5 of those 7 losses, oh, by the way, have come to the Angels. So really, things have not gone well in the Pacific Northwest, but in true BP fashion, that all being said, like I did on Sunday, I am going to go and back the Mariners here at home when facing the prospect of being swept. Although, in this case, and in the interest of price, I'm going to do so in just the first 5, and I'll lay the half run as well. Luis Castillo on the mound for the Mariners. Like everyone else in this rotation, he's been better at home. 3.07 ERA, 1.04 WHIP, and even with those recent struggles that Seattle's been having, pitching has not been a problem. They still allow the fewest number of runs per game at home in all of baseball at 3.06. That's nearly a half run better than the number 2 team, guys, Texas. And that brings me to my next point. The Angels, the 8 runs that they have put up in this series is about as fraudulent a number as it gets. Half of the runs they've scored have been on throwing errors. Another run came on a sac fly after 2 walks and a double steal. They got a walk with the bases loaded last night as well. So I'm confident in the Castillo portion of the equation. I'm also confident in fading Angels starter Griffin Canning. He stinks, especially on the road. 0-8 with a 6.31 ERA. Over his last 7 starts overall, Canning's allowed 4 or more runs 5 different times, including 6 in just 3 1/3 innings his last time out. As bad as Seattle's offense is, I will lay the half run in the first 5 for my big game breakdown.
You sick man.
Yes. Well, I like that both of you chose big game breakdowns. One favorites yesterday scored 2 runs or less in losses, and that was the Mariners and the Yankees. Yeah, and Bryan, you hit on it. I mean, the Mariners just in general, not just their offense, but opposing offenses that just don't score in that ballpark. We saw a 7. In fact, it closed 6.5 in a lot of spots yesterday, that Angels-Mariners game. And it landed 5-1. So it's been a low-scoring season for the Mariners once again. But if they make the postseason, which they might, that pitching staff could be pretty dangerous, in a 3 or 5 or 7 game series. Bryan, I'll ask you real quick, do they make the postseason? I don't think they win this division, but do they sneak in as a wild card?
I don't know who's going to get the last wild card in the American League. Steve, I'm with you. I said it, I think, on Monday's show when we were together, that I am very confident that the Astros win the AL West. I think it's going to be between Seattle, Boston, and Kansas City for that last wild card. Of the 3, honestly, I'd probably give the Mariners the worst chance of that group. So right now, I would be leaning a hard no on their postseason chances. They just don't hit. I mean, and that's a problem when you're playing baseball.
They are offensively challenged indeed. And Mark, let's talk about a team that is not offensively challenged. At least they shouldn't be on paper, and that's the LA Dodgers. And once again, keep those questions coming down the live chat. We are in the viewer chat segment of the show here, and we've got one from Smoking Tree. Mark, he is saying Dodgers -1.5 run line. This is free money tonight. I always get a little scared when I hear the term free money. But, hey, look, you're not only getting free money with him, you're getting them at plus money on the run line. I will say the Dodgers run line has been a very good play for a few years now. Basically you play them to lose outright or win by margin. They did so last night 5-2. Of course, the night before they only won 3-2. And almost half their wins against the Giants are now 8-3 against the Giants this season. But I believe 3 or 4 of those wins have been by 1. So do you trust the Dodgers tonight, Mark, on that run line -1.5 against San Fran?
I mean, a couple of factors here. One, again, the Dodgers have scored less than 5 runs in the first 2 games, in each of the first 2 games of this series. So some point in time, that lineup tells you that they're going to score more than that. I think that works in their favor when you just talk about regression to the mean here for the Dodgers. They're also going up against Robbie Ray, who I forgot for a hot moment, Steve, was still in Major League Baseball. He started the year with the Mariners. Yeah, you mentioned Mariners. He pitched last on March 31st, which was the opening day of the season, and hasn't pitched since. So I don't think you'll see Ray long in this game. And the Giants bullpen has the 6th highest bullpen ERA in baseball this year because, they pitch 7 out of every 9 innings of every game that they play because that's what the Giants do. So, I think that there's room here for the Dodgers to make some noise. Again, Brian Power will tell you, I don't want to lay 1.5 with the home team because I get 1 less at bat.
That's just uncalled for. Just uncalled for.
Thank you, Steve.
I talk to the guy every day of my life. I talk to him more than anybody in my family. And he tells me, I don't like laying 1.5. And I'm like, if they need the 9th at bat, what are we talking about here? They shouldn't need the 9th at bat. So,
what?
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I was going to say, you bring up a good point there in general, how a lot of people say we never play home teams -1.5 run line. And I do it all the time. And my take on that is I'm getting like an extra 50 or 60 cents adjustment, right? I mean, if this is a road favorite here, the Dodgers might be minus money. They're plus like 140, or, they're not plus 140. They're, let's see, but minus 200 right now, money line. So the spread line is plus 115. They're minus money if they're a road team, right?
We're not talking about the Mariners offense who couldn't score in a whorehouse with a fistful of hundreds. We're talking about the best offense in baseball. So, I mean, like, you only do this when you're talking about the Phillies, the Dodgers, who else? The Orioles, and the Royals at home. Like, this is the only time you're doing it with teams that have proven that they can hit the ball and score. So who needs the damn last at bat?
Yeah, and Brian, that's something I say all the time. When you're playing the run line, you want to play teams that can win by margin, just like in college football. When you're laying 3 touchdowns, you want teams that can score, right? You don't want the Iowa Hawkeyes. So it is a good point, and that's one of the reasons, as I said at the beginning of this game, is that the Dodgers -1.5 run line have been a better play the last few years than just playing them on the money line at higher juice, because they normally do win by margin. I'll let the senator from Ohio rebut, though, since he was called out during this debate. And I'm going to ask you about another game after you follow up here.
Well, first off, I don't think I sound like that, Steve, quite frankly.
I don't
think
either.
that was a very good Bryan Bauer impression.
You sounded damn good right now.
I'm good at WagerTalk impressions. If you want me to do my Bryan Bauer.
Oh, no.
Demeaning impressions.
Yes,
people want
exactly.
The
Prez. Yeah, do a Prez impression. Don't do me.
We got to do that. We can't bury the lead. We need the Prez right now. I can't go forward without the Prez. Lawrence, what do you think of this game?
What would the Prez say about laying the 1.5?
Why would you care about the last at bat? I mean, it's the highest scoring team in baseball. If they don't,
pretty good.
If they're not up by 3 touchdowns, why even make the bet?
I'm gonna do Teddy throwing it back to Brian after that. Let's get back to baseball. Brian, what is your thought on laying 1.5 run lines with home teams?
I don't like doing it. Zinno knows it. I don't like doing it. Now, I will say, Steve, you do make a good point. The Dodgers have generally been the exception to this rule. When they do win, they win by margin. This is a team, obviously, with one of the best run differentials in all of baseball. Another way to look at it with Glass now is just laying the half run in the first 5, because in the first 5 innings, they get an equal number of at-bats as the road team. So that's a different way to look at it. So
I like that.
That's I'll leave it at that. I have no impressions to offer of anybody. Everyone says I sound like Tucker Carlson. I'll just be ready for the next game.
Wow, I never thought of that.
I know, Mark. I had not either. Who threw that out, Brian? Was it Joe Ranieri? Somebody said that about a month ago. Might have been Dan, actually.
It's about 82 people in the comments section every day on WagerTalk TV saying, VP, you sound like Tucker Carlson. And I say, yes, 81 people have said that to me already.
You know what it is?
Oh, it's 100%.
It's the up and down cadence in his voice. Like
he looks like him, his mannerisms, and I like Tucker. It's not a knock on you, Brian. I think he's got a great on-air persona, but I had never seen that till someone pointed it out, and it is 100% spot on, like a doppelganger. They were talking German movies before this show, so I'll say doppelganger right there for Tucker Carlson for Brian Power. Hey, Brian, I want to throw a game to you, which you probably do not want to be laying the 1.5 run line, and that's the Chicago Cubs, who lost 1-0 at home last night. And the total, by the way, on the game is 7.5, undecided for Milwaukee. But this is a question in the live chat from David Schmidt. David is asking, that's a German name right there as well. How do you like that? Cubs money line is what he wants to know from a team that couldn't score last night.
Well, I've got a way to, with the uncertainty of Milwaukee's starting pitching situation, I've got a way to even get a better number on this. I'm going to talk about this on WagerTalk today, which I'm on at the top of
I can't wait to hear it.
I'm on
please.
it.
Come on,
Prez. Talk today. Prez, let him get through the breakdown.
Let him talk about the damn game.
I like Justin Steele to record a win, guys. A couple things to note with this. Steele, when it comes to pitchers who deserve a better record, I'd put him right near the top of the list. I know he got rocked his last time out. Before that, though, 7 consecutive quality starts. His ERA is down to 3.07 for the year. His whip right around 1. He's a lefty, and this is really big because, Mark, as you and I were talking the other day about Milwaukee versus lefties, I was like, aren't they good versus lefties? Well, I uncovered some things. They are very good against lefties at home. At home, they have the best batting average in all of baseball against southpaws. 286. They're number 3 in WRC plus against lefties at home. But on the road, get this, Milwaukee, 4th worst batting average versus lefties, bottom 5 in WRC plus. This game, last I checked, is taking place in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, so it is a road game. I expect Steele to pitch well. He pitched well against Milwaukee, actually in Milwaukee, not that long ago. Justin Steele to record a win. That's plus 135. I know Dan Alexander behind the scenes is smiling ear to ear on that one. He loves those pitchers. Record a win.
The Cubs are
I'm
ass.
impressed by that. I mean, I throw that game randomly to Brother, like under the radar play, although he was prepared because he's going to talk about it, like he just said, I guess, on Wager Talk today. And that, of course, is on live after us at noon. You can see the real Prez and the real Teddy, and then you can compare it to this show and see how Mark and I did on our impressions. And you can see how Bryan does on an impression of himself here at noon Eastern on Wager Talk today. So it all comes full circle here. Hey, Mark, I want to stay in the NL Central with you, though. You and I talked about this on Sports Grid Sunday night. I mentioned the Brewers have the best run differential in the NL Central. There's only one other team with a positive run differential. That's dead last Cincinnati, who's plus 34 runs, but in last place. They're 5 games below 500. They should be 7 up based on net runs. And you and I both know net runs isn't an be-all, end-all, but it is an interesting indicator to talk about when you play 162 games. But anyway, Jeff Stewart in the live chat right now is asking about the Reds' money line plus 110, first game of a doubleheader, he says. So lots of things to talk about here in the Braves and Reds today.
Yeah, for somebody who has bet the Reds season win total over 81.5, it's mind-numbingly frustrating to watch this team go out and sweep the Yankees, then get swept by Detroit, get swept by the Nationals, and then go take a game against the Braves. And now they'll play 2 today. Alan Winans, no relation to Mario Winans, who doesn't want to know if you're playing me, keep it on the low. No relation there. But he has only made 1 start this year against the Mets. He got rocked. He gave up 7 runs in 5 innings and did not pitch well. This is probably a guy that isn't ready to be a major league pitcher yet. Furthermore, even though he looks like he's 15, he's actually 28. And has been toiling in the minors for longer than expected. And there's a reason why he hasn't been called up because guess what? He's not that good. I would lean Reds here in the first game. The interesting part is that the Braves are going to throw Sale in the second game, which sort of sets up the idea that, look, Winans doesn't have to go deep in this game. We can get into our bullpen early because we expect that Sale will go at least 6, if not 7, and give our bullpen a little bit of a break. So, if the Reds can get to him early, like Reds first 5 money line feels like the play in this spot here, just because if Winans is on, if for whatever reason they're not hitting him, they're not going to get through to the Braves bullpen. So I would jump on the Reds first 5 in this spot.
Yeah, and it's also a 12:20 Eastern start. Very early daytime start here in 1 hour. It's a benefit of, once again, watching this live here at 11 a.m. Eastern every weekday on First Pitch. But, yeah, you got to think if something funky might happen, it's a 12 noon start on a weekday, doubleheader. Maybe that gives the dog a little bit of a chance early on. Atlanta's only a $1.20 favorite in the game itself. So Cincinnati could be a little bit more live here in Game 1. Of course, as Mark said, they're going to face a better starter in Sale in Game 2. They're about a $1.55 dog. Atlanta a $1.70 favorite tonight at 6 Eastern in Game 2. All right, keep the questions coming. We've got one from one of our loyal viewers who's in here every day. Tyler, always great to hear from you. By the way, Tyler says F the Cubs for what it's worth. But Tyler wants to know, BP, he wants to back the Rays. Everyone is pointing to Eflin, road splits, and back in Toronto. Is it that simple? He's only contrarian with the Rays. He wants to know your thoughts on that game.
Well, let's see if I can make it 3 for 3 on angering the comment section on teams I am looking to endorse today. I mean, they have spoken violently against both the Mariners and the Cubs on YouTube, at least. Look, I know the Blue Jays had gone over in a bunch of games in a row. I think it was 8 straight before yesterday. But I think this is going to be a pitcher's duel tonight, believe it or not. I think runs could be scarce. Eflin is going for the Rays. His expected ERA, I'm a big fan at looking at expected ERA. It's nearly a full run lower than his actual ERA, so I think there could be better times ahead for the Rays starter. And then Rodriguez for Toronto, I like his chances tonight because he's striking out nearly 25% of the batters he's faced. And guess what, guys? The Rays lineup, it strikes out a quarter of the time it comes up to the plate. So I think runs are going to be scarce early. You may want to just look at the first 5 under because these bullpens do scare me. But note, while Tampa scored 4 runs last night, they did so on just 4 hits. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm actually going to be talking about this one as well on Wager Talk today. My lean is towards the under.
And by the way, Ruzin says, Tucker Carlson, I can't unhear it now. Identical. Yep. So Rue's in agreement there. And I feel the same way. I'd forgotten because I hadn't seen Bryan for a week or so, until like Monday. But it is 100% spot on. It's not an insult either. It's just fact. It's like a
Should I be wearing a bow tie? Is he still wear the bow tie, or is he done away with that?
Well, the bow tie thing was always strange to me. I don't know. Can you pull off a bow tie, Mark? Do you think he could pull off a bow tie? Plaid shirt, perhaps not.
He'd have a better shot at putting it in his hair and making it look like a clip.
See, there we go. This is Joe Ranieri Jr. impression right there. Just piling up on him. Yeah, just piling up on him. And someone, I got to find who said it, but someone said Zinno. Drew Schultz said Zinno is still triggered with the laughing, smiley face, crying face. So that's in the live chat today.
Well, I mean, you have to be more specific. What exactly am I triggered about?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Was this from the earlier show today? Was it from the impression? Was it from the Cubs? From the Reds?
From the
Red
Yankees
season win would trigger me too.
No, that's triggering me. I made the stupid mistake of betting on Toronto last night, thinking that Jose Barrios, whatever he is, Jose, you suck, got rocked last night. But it actually pitched well at home, and Tampa Bay, who is the biggest fraudulent team in Major League Baseball. You know what's weird, Steve, is like you get to a point at this point in the season where you're like, I need to stop betting on this team. And I said it 2 months ago. I need to stop betting on this team. I need to stop betting on this team. I said like 2 months ago, I need to stop betting on Toronto. And what did I do last night? I walked right into betting on Toronto because I made the cardinal sin that all of us will make. I feel like I need one more, right? When you're putting together – this is the best piece of advice I can give to gamblers. When you're putting together a parlay and you're like, I feel like I need one more, you never need one more. You never, ever, ever need one more. Get the 2-team parlay right and take the money as opposed to the 3-team parlay and losing it. You never, ever need one more.
When I talked about it Saturday, I was on Sports Grid Saturday night. We were talking about the trade deadline coming up, and I mentioned, the one team that jumps out to all of us is, maybe a seller, maybe a team that's tossed the towel is the Blue Jays. And, of course, I love the setup on Sunday. Played them -1.5 so I could get plus money for my clients. And what happens? They win by 1. So that's semi-triggered me as well with the Blue Jays.
Where's your BP impression now, Zinno?
The trigger also could have been your Yankees, Mark, because you did mention that at the beginning of the show. We got somebody actually asking about, he's saying he likes Rodriguez. That's Tyler, actually. Rodriguez K's over 4.5. You guys have any thoughts on that? Yeah, BP said after your analysis, that was sounding good to you after the breakdown. Rodriguez over 4.5 Ks tonight. And Deep Fry Ty, who's still one of the best names in all of chat. Deep Fry Ty, good to see you. Great info, guys. That includes Bryan, Mark, and myself. And Dan the Man Alexander is throwing all these questions towards us, don't forget. Dan the Philly fan. I came up with that one last night, so that's another nickname for Dan. Hey, speaking of Dan the Philly fan, we have to contractually talk about his Phillies. So who wants that first? First hand up gets it. Mark, I'll throw it to you. Phillies, your thoughts.
This is my best bet for the show here today, guys.
Let's do it.
You get the Phillies at a very manageable number, -135 on the road in Minnesota. Not only do they have Aaron Nola on the mound, who, by the way, last time I checked, in 20 starts this year, the Phillies are 15-5 when he's in the bump. They're scoring better than 5 runs a game whenever he starts. All those things make me get very excited. But what else makes me get excited is that the Phillies, top 5 in batting average, OPS, WRC plus on the road against left-handed pitching this year. They have been absolutely crucifying lefties. And Steven Okert doesn't exactly scare anybody. Okert, are they doing a bullpen game? I think this is a bullpen game for Minnesota today, which, again, their bullpen is good, so I'm not going to sit here and say it's not, but you're asking a lot against a really consummate professional lineup here. So Okert doesn't scare me. Phillies should get up early here, but when I see Phillies at a -135, you don't see that often this year, given who they are and the way they've been priced. So I'm going to try to take advantage of it here. I'll back the fighting Phils, the fighting Dan Alexanders, and this offense better show up today, Dan, or I'm coming for you, triggered tomorrow.
The fighting Dan Alexanders. That's fantastic. And by the way, this is an early game, correct? 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
So once again, another benefit.
Dan, 4 o'clock, you're asking.
I think I have a day off, guys, and I end up getting threatened by Mark. This is ridiculous.
Dan said he's getting threatened by Mark Zinno even when he's not live hosting the show, and he thought he was safe behind the production board. But so that's the beauty of the live show. You can chime in at 4 o'clock and call Mark beautiful and a genius, or you can pick on him. So he's putting it on the line here. It's always risky putting out an early daytime play on the live shows because A lot of people come in afterwards and watch the replay.
I much prefer being insulted before dinner than after. Usually after I have a meal I'd like to go to sleep and relax. So
that is a good point. Get it in before supper, right?
What, he's been insulted a time or two after dinner, I can tell you that, man.
He insults himself when he lies down at night just to get him motivated for sleep.
Those years were not kind, yes.
Those were not kind to any of us. There it is.
There it is.
Steve, are you familiar?
Not even noon yet. WagerTalk today's got nothing on first pitch Wednesday. Hump day. If you think this is chaotic, stay tuned at noon Eastern for WagerTalk today, because Prez, Teddy, and Brian Power will all be on a triple play there. And actually, I'll be hosting Thursday and Friday.
Control. Nobody's in control anymore. Oh, there she is.
There's the Prez. There's the Prez. What's he talking about now? I need my glasses.
Call me. Let's make a sloppy parlay together.
Sloppy parlay time. I think I got to throw that right back to you, Mark, don't I?
Yeah.
I'm speechless at this point. After Patty gets involved, I sort of just get a little verklempt. So, but we can team up my best bet and Brian Power's best bet for a sloppy parlay. We could do that.
Oh, we'll do that. Let's get Brian. Let's get Brian's.
We
we'll get Brian's, and we'll make that the 5% Patty Johnson banger today, fellas. And Brian, we talked about a daytime best bet for the show. We went, hey, look, 5%. We got a free play, Phillies, 1 o'clock Eastern. Let's get something from Brian Power. Brian, before we do so, though, I want to remind all the viewers they can get all of our baseball best bets for free for the rest of the season when they sign up for the football special right now. And it is a special, $777. Lucky sevens. What could go wrong? You get the entire college and pro football seasons combined through the Super Bowl next February 2025 for just $777. And you get the rest of baseball over a $400 value for free. There is no promo code needed. You can get Brian Power, you can get Mark Zinner, you can get myself, Steve Merrill, get all of us, all of our football best bets for the next 5-6 months, whatever it is, plus 3 months of baseball for free. That's this week only. WagerTalk.com. No promo codes needed. All right, we got the Phillies from Mark from his show Best Bet. Brian Power, you're going to look at the Johnny Detroit's Tigers and Brian Leonard's, Ralph Michaels, and numerous other WagerTalk's Cleveland Guardians. You're looking at the total in this one. Tigers, Guardians, Brian, how you playing it?
If anyone had the consummate professionalism to get this show back on track, Steve, I knew it was you. Let's talk about Tigers and Guardians. All right, 5 straight Tigers games have gone over the total. The last 5 meetings between the Tigers and Guardians, obviously including the first 2 of this series, have also gone over the total, and I'm going to jump in front of that train here. I know the Guardians put up 5 runs last night, but that's been an aberration for them recently. Keep in mind, it was a bullpen game for the Tigers yesterday. I'll get into starter Jack Flaherty in just a bit here. But first, need to point out the Guardians have been held to 2 runs or less 6 of their last 9 games. They've been shut out 4 times since July 8th. They need a bat at the trade deadline in a major way if they're going to hold on in the AL Central. And tonight, they're going against the aforementioned Flaherty. He's 6-1 with a 2.04 ERA. Since May 30th. You talk about the trade deadline. If you listen to the reports, Flaherty's probably on his way out of the Motor City. And if that's the case, Cleveland's not going to be sad to see him go, because 4 previous starts against the Guardians, Flaherty's got a 1.88 ERA. On the other side, I know the Tigers have had some success in the past against Tanner Bybee, including early this month. But I'm going to trust Bybee, who didn't give up any runs his last time out. I was on him. That was here at home. And the Guardians, of course, #1 bullpen, all of baseball by just about every available metric. This has ticked down to 7. I don't care. Runs will be scarce up I-77 here in Cleveland at Progressive Field. Guardians, Tigers under 7 is my show best bet.
Yeah, I mean, the Guardians have been getting it done with that bullpen this year. There's no question about it. We look at run differential. Once again, Cleveland's winning that division, plus 79. Guess who coming into yesterday had a better run differential in that division? It was the Royals, but they're now plus 76. But that's another, we talked about the Reds, Mark, having that run differential that doesn't chime. The Royals, 10 games above, should actually be 16 games above. They've been great at home, bad on the road. Mark, on the way out here, I'll ask you, do you got any under-the-radar teams here for the second half of the baseball season? Or, hey, throw in an overrated team if you want. And Brian will ask you the same as well. We've got the trade deadline a week away. We talked about the Blue Jays maybe being a seller. Just your thoughts on that as well.
I mean, look,
We'll go to Mark.
I look at I wanted to play on Texas. I really thought they were starting to turn the corner, but they have just gone back to not hitting the damn ball the last week before the All-Star break and now coming out. I still think that's going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to get it right and start to score more runs. So I'll look to play on Texas. Continue to play on Houston. They're going to end up running away with that division. It's not going to be a sweat. They're going to win the AL West in a walk, and they'll really turn it on at this point in time. And the Bats, really, I mean, Houston at home, when you get a chance to play their team total over 4.5, do it because they score a ton more at home than do it on the road.
Yeah, Brian, I'm doing the math right now. I believe Houston started 7-19, which means they've now gone 45-30 since, which is exactly 60%. To put that in perspective, Dodgers win percentage on the season, 59.8. So this is a really good team right now in Houston. They'd have one of the best records in baseball if they hadn't started 7-19. So I like where Mark's going there. BP, Brian Power, I'll ask you the same thing. Play on, play against, trade deadline teams to be careful with. Your thoughts here over the next week or even the next few months?
Yeah, just one more quick note on those Astros. When they had that horrible start, Steve, that you just brought up, 7-19, they had horrible one-run game luck. They had a lot of losses by one run. I think, didn't they start the year, Zinno, get the Yankees? They lost all four. I think they had a lead in all four of those games. If that was a few months ago, but I think that's correct. Anyway, AL Central is a division I'm targeting where there could be some upheaval down the stretch. You look at FanGraphs, they say the Guardians are going to play below 500 the rest of the way. I have not been sold on the Royals this season either because of their play away from home. Their splits at the plate, home and road, are about as dramatic as it gets. So if you want to look for a team that's not currently in first place that might be live to win its division, how about the Minnesota Twins, guys? They've been there before. I think of the three contenders in that division, Guardians, Twins, Royals, the Twins are the most likely to play but they will play the best down the stretch, and they could steal this division from Cleveland. So that's what I am looking at to possibly change in the second half of the Major League Baseball season.
Yeah, both Twins and Royals each 5 games behind Cleveland. And like you said, Cleveland's been fantastic bullpen. They're just 3-7, though, their last 10. You mentioned those one-run games also, by the way, Brian. Houston on the season just 7-17 still in one-run games and just 4-7 in extra innings, which I think is very random. The one-run games, some teams are going to be better or worse, but extra innings, pretty random. So the Astros, first place in the division, they're still 10 games below on one-runners, so lots of upside there with Houston. Hey, Mark, on the way out, I want to get a question real quick. We're asking about the Orioles and the Marlins. And this is an interesting game because obviously Baltimore's been a powerhouse team. Miami's been probably the biggest underachiever in baseball. And Kyle Mushafen asked about a game in the live chat yesterday on YouTube Shorts. Now he's on YouTube TV here. So Kyle wants to know about the Orioles today and if there's any value there with the O's or if you think the Marlins can pull the upset.
Yeah, real quick before I get to it, I just want to remind everybody, I do have a 5% play up on the site right now at WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/MZ. It's also 3 plays, included the one I gave out earlier, Yankees-Mets, first 5 under. So there is a 5% play, just my third one of the season, dating back to last year, 3-1-1 of my last 5% plays in Major League Baseball. So coming out swinging tonight, it's a Patty Johnson nuke. And the last time we played a Patty Johnson nuke, perfect handicap, really bad beat. But we're coming back to it again here tonight. So WT.buzz/MZ. Now back to the Orioles. Played on the Orioles yesterday to go over 4.5 in their team total. They scored 3 runs in the first 3 innings, and you're going, oh, okay, it's the Marlins. It's their bullpen. This should cash. Guess what? The Orioles didn't score a run the rest of the way. They're facing Edward Cabrera tonight, who, let's just call him not good. 7.36 ERA. The only thing higher than his 5.1 ERA at home is his ERA of 12 on the road. So this is an Orioles team. Last night, a couple of weird things happened in that game. Albert Suarez, their starter, got hurt and got yanked. Jorge Mateo also got injured. He got yanked. You're getting the Orioles at a discount price here because Chase McDermott, and oh, by the way, slap his parents in the face for spelling Chase, Chayce. That's not how you spell Chase. Okay, it's Chase. You want to name your kid Chase? That's your prerogative. Just spell it the right way. Don't do this to the young man. Nonetheless, Chase McDermott is making his Major League debut tonight, which is why you're getting the Orioles at such a discounted price. The whole handicap is about the Orioles bats, guys. I mean, that's simply what it boils down to. This is a team that hits the hell out of the baseball no matter where they are. They're one of the highest scoring teams on the road in Major League Baseball. Those 3 runs should have been the aberration. I know Mateo's not going to be in the lineup tonight, listed as day-to-day, but there's still enough pop and enough power. If they can't get to Edward, don't call me Eduardo, Cabrera, in this game early and run away with this thing, then there's problems all around with the Orioles. I know they're struggling right now. I know their manager, Brandon Hyde, hasn't exuded a lot of confidence in them. They are scuffling, but man, if there's a get-right spot, it's with Chase McDermott and banging around Edward Cabrera here early and often for the Baltimore Orioles.
Mark Zinno, thank you so much. I've been trying to find his minor league stats all day, but now I know how to spell the name. So the goal is working. No, yes, it's C-H-A-Y-C-E, Chase. You better be a damn good athlete if your parents are spelling your name that way. I'll tell you that much. This is the guy that AAA Norfolk right down the road from me, and I actually talked about this yesterday. And Brian, I'm going to ask you on the way out about some player props. So start thinking about a player prop for the viewers here in a moment. But when they called up James Wood, I looked at the top 20 prospects. He was 3rd in baseball. 3 of the top 20 were in AAA Norfolk for the Orioles, including the number 1 prospect. That's how good this Orioles team is. They're calling a guy up that made, I believe, 19 starts in 20 games for Norfolk this year. They almost had a 4 ERA, 1.4 whip. So, yeah, McDermott's numbers were not that good for AAA for a good Norfolk team. So we'll see what he does tonight against the floundering Miami Marlins. Brian, on the way out here, any player props catch your eyes here for the viewers, the live viewers here on WagerTalk TV for Wednesday night MLB?
Well, if you're just tuning in, I actually gave one out at the beginning of the show. I'll be reiterating it on WagerTalk today at the top of the hour. That would be Justin Steele to record a win. I would also look at Griffin Canning under his strikeout number. Griffin Canning is bad. I know Seattle's offense is bad, and I know Seattle strikes out a lot. So taking a pitcher under his strikeout prop against Seattle Mariners seems very, very scary, but I don't think Canning's going to last long today. I think the Mariners bats can wake up finally and have a lead after 5 innings. I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with what I talked about in my big game breakdown on this matchup. So yeah, I know it's risky. A lot of money's been made betting pitchers over their strikeout prop against Seattle, but Griffin Canning is one who I do not see fanning 6 or more batters. Why do I say that, Steve? Because he has gone under 5.5 strikeouts in 19 of his last 20 starts.
Well, nice. And it's appropriate because Chazo Angel was actually the one asking that question for player props, and we talked about it in the Angels-Mariners game there. And by the way, the live chat quacking me up. Ruzin said, who the hell is McDermott? And then Tyler chimes in, Sean McDermott is the Bills head coach. I actually went to school with Sean McDermott, so I don't think Chase is his son. If it is, I'll have to give him a call and to berate him for naming him. Yeah, Sean was a year apart from me here at William & Mary. Good defensive back, great wrestler from Pennsylvania, and pretty good NFL coach. I root for the Bills when I'm not playing against them for that reason. So I do not think there's any relation, though, with Chase McDermott to Sean, as far as I know. Follow for more, as you see on your screen. Follow for more here.
What is it with baseball players having weird names? Like Ryan Nelson is pitching. Ryan is R-Y-A-N. Stop with the R-Y-N-E. Stop. Like, I mean, we need to get rid of the Coltons and the Bronsons and Joe, Justin, Jack, and Jim is fine.
I was going to say, it's not just a baseball thing, Mark. It's more of a societal thing. Mark, Brian, and Steve are not very common names anymore, or Dan. And for someone that coaches a lot of youth sports, I have not coached a Steve, I don't think, in the last 6 years since I've started coaching. So that's how crazy it is.
Caden, you go to short. Colton go to second. Matthias go to third.
Colton. A lot of Coltons. Ethans. Lots of Ethans. Coltons.
That girl would have
lots of Bryce.
That girl would have never named her kid Colton.
No, she hasn't named any of her 20 kids. She has
I was
20 kids.
I was going to say she had 20 chances. There we go.
Look at that, Brian. Evil man.
Shots fired.
Oh, throw it on me when I hit her. Yeah.
Hey, if you guys thought this show was out of control, we apologize. Stay tuned for Wager Talk today. That'll be more out of control, so it'll make us look good. But all seriousness, Wager Talk today is live at noon Eastern. Following us here with Teddy the Prez. Brian Power is going to be on as well. And I believe there's going to be a Marco D'Angelo sighting also, along with Andrew McGinnis, talking some CFL. And Andrew's actually going to talk Olympics men's volleyball. And that might seem strange, but I think Andrew, who's like, 6'7", guys, he has a volleyball background. So you're not only getting some baseball, you're going to get CFL and Olympic volleyball on Wager Talk today. I can't imagine what Prez's lead is going to be for that one, guys. Mark Zinno, on the way out, give me an impression of Prez leading into a volleyball question.
Andrew, do you even play volleyball? Do they play? I mean, we're in Canada. There's no volley here. What are we doing?
Andrew, you're 7'8". Can you play volleyball?
But just play basketball. What's the matter? You couldn't make the basketball team, so you had to play volleyball?
And I'll get and for equal time, the senator from Ohio gets to do Teddy Covers with a follow-up question for volleyball.
Oh no, I can't do Teddy Covers. Justice.
I can't do coffee cake. Look at Bryan. I can't do coffee cake.
I can't do coffee cake. So really, what do you know about volleyball, Mark Zinno?
I'll make a prediction right now, guys. Here's a prediction. It's Japan-Germany. Teddy's going to ask the next game. He will not even do a follow-up. He'll ask Poland-Egypt. Let's see if I'm correct. We'll find out live here in about 45 minutes.
They got the pyramids in Egypt, Zinno. They got the pyramids.
I've got it minus 130 that he just leads to the next game.
All they have
Here we go. And don't forget, if you're following this useful, make sure you hit subscribe and you hit that bell for instant alerts so you never miss when Mark Zinno and Bryan Power on WagerTalk TV, or when we're doing our free play videos. There's free baseball videos, 4 or 5 a day. Click subscribe, hit that bell for instant alerts. Thumbs up, like if you found this useful and entertaining, especially. Can't imagine how we don't get a thumbs up. And be sure to check it every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Dan the Man, the Phillies fan, Alexander, will be back next week hosting. So you only have to have me for 2 more days. But Dan was throwing the questions our way. Keep them coming tomorrow on Thursday and Friday. We're back at 11 a.m. Eastern. Wager Talk today is next here on Wager Talk TV at noon Eastern. Enjoy the games. Best of luck. And stay pretty, America.
Sloppy, sloppy,